The Philippine literature. Jose Garcia Villa was born on August 5, 1908, died in February 7, 1997, was a Filipino poet, literary critic, short story writer, and painter. He was awarded as a National Artist of the Philippines title for the literature in the 1973, as well as Guggenheim Fellowship in Creative Writing by Conrad Aiken. He is known to have introduced the reverse consonants rhyme scheme in writing poetry, as well as the extensive use of punctuation marks, especially commas, which made him known as the comma poet. He used the pen name de Veglion based on the characters he derived from his own works. The animal were also explored by another poet, E. E. Cummings, in the Veglion Adventure in Value, a poem dedicated to Villa. The Anchored Angel is a story of a man, Ponso, who felt the desire for a woman when he was 35. He asked Flora to come live with him. At first, Flora resented and got angry, even while she remained silent. But finally, she said yes. Flora was a servant woman and she welcomed this chance of having an independent home. Flora was half ashamed but also glad to accept his proposal. When she gave Ponsa her acceptance, she cried a lot. As we are going to see, Filipino American Villa was something an anomaly in that he write as an expat of colonial property of the US. Yet, what as unquestioning of the premises and practices of high modernism as he himself was of his abilities and preternatural calling as a poet. The most prominent echoes in the poem, story, and essays collected here are from the writers as diverse as Hopkins, Dickinson, Blake, and Cumming. Villa's various innovations, his idea of reverse consonants, and later, taken on happily serious by his contemporaries, idea of putting commas between each word seem minor and retrospect compared to those of William or Pound. The next work is The Emperor's New Sonnet. It is a blank page poem. It's one of his visual poems that forego the word entirely. For example, there is Centipede Sonnet, consisting entirely of commas, Sonnet in Polka Dots, composed of capital O's, The Emperor's New Sonnet, which is a blank page, and the Bashful One, in which a single comma lurks in the lower left of the page. It is especially in this caprice that the influence of E. E. Cumming and Villa's desire to take his work to the next level of a meaning are evident. The next title of the story is Footnote to Youth. It revolves around the prospect of teen marriage. It is a story of Dodong who made a mistake in the past and ended up in a happy life, and he did not want his son to be like him. The title Footnote to the Youth is suitable because it serves as a note or a reminder that the life of having your own family in a young age will not be easy as cake. Footnote is simple defined as a note at the foot of the page. It is often used to give additional information to the reader regarding on the words on the story, but yet the author includes not actually footnotes in the story. This story was written by Jose Garcia in 1933 to show that father's wisdom is not always something you can base your life on. It's so easy to make a certain decision, but it will never be easy to have a big responsibility. Those issues mostly happened on the province area or in a particular place that have not sufficient knowledge about the consequences of what can be possibly the outcome of a teen that is committed to marriage at the unrighteous time. Those individuals pick up the wrong decision not just because of their foolishness, neither stubbornness, and also because on the lack of proper guidance of his or her parents about this certain topic. This idea or the message which comes from the reader's mind while reading this story. It is what we may refer to as the author's footnote. Amado Vera Hernandez, commonly known as Amado V. Hernandez, was born on September 13, 1903 and died on March 24, 1970. Was a Filipino writer and labor leader who was known for his criticism of social injustices in the Philippines and was later imprisoned for his involvement in the communist movement. He was the central figure in the landmark legal case that took 13 years to settle. He was born in Tondo, Manila, to parents from Hagone, Bulacan. He grew up and studied at the Gagalangin Tondo, the Manila High School, and at the American Correspondence School. He wrote Isang Dipang Langit, A Stretch of Heaven, which later won a Republic Cultural Heritage Award, and Bayang Malaya, or Free Nation, which later won a Balagtas Award, and also written in prison was his masterpiece, Luha ng Buhaya, The Tears of the Crocodile. Kaamado gave voices to the oppressed peasant and laborers, rendering them powerful verses and plots that should give down a compelling chronicle of a struggle of a people, but still prove to be an influential instrument in constituting reform and empowerment. A literary artist that he is, Kaamado remains to be a social and political leader, fast becoming to be an icon of the working class. Hernandez's poetic sensibility was initially developed in the literary circle. During the second decade, he was a member of the Vice President of Aklatang Bayan, where he associated with Lope K. Santos, Valeriano Hernandez Peña, Inigo A. Regalado, and Julian Cruz Balmaceda. Later, he joined Ilaw at Panitik, where he became close to Corazon de Jesus, Florentino Collantes, and Deogracias Rosario. He wrote poems of suddenly topics for his daily column, Sariling Hardin, in the Pagkakaisa from the 1926 to 1932. He continued writing poems for his column, Pangkasalukuyan, or Today in Mabuhay, from 1932 to 1930. In 1929, he challenged De Jesus to acknowledge King of Balagtasan to debate in verse on the issue of nationalism and independence. For almost a month, they articulated their position daily in the newspapers. They worked for De Jesus in Taliba, Hernandez in Pagkakaisa. In 1940, he published his first anthology of poems entitled Kayumanggi at Iba Pang Tula. His prison ordeal provided the creative impulse of most of the poems in his collection, Isang Dipang Langit, the epic Bayang Malaya, and 1969, both of which were written behind the bars. Most famous of his poems are Isang Dipang Langit, Panata sa Kalayaan, Bartolina, Ang Dalaw, at Kung Tuyo na ang Luha mo aking bayan. Nakilala ang husay ni Amado Hernandez noong panahon ng Amerikano. Naisulat niya ang tulang ito sa Bartolina ng Muntinlupa noong ika-22 ng Abril 1952. Sinalaysay ni Hernandez sa kanyang mga akta ang pakikipagsapalaran at pakikibaka ng mga manggagawang Pilipino. Minsan siyang napiit dahil sa salang sedisyon at habang nasa loob ng kulungan, naisulat niya ang Isang Dipang Langit, isa sa pinakamahalaga niyang tula. Nakilala rin si Hernandez sa kanyang mga nobelang gaya ng Ibong Mandaragit at Luha ng Buhaya. Ang ilan sa kanyang mga aklang kwento ay natipon sa isang tomo na pinagmagatang Langaw sa Isang Basong Tubig at Ibang Kwento. Nagturo din siya sa pamantasan ng Pilipinas. Kakikitaan ng diwang makabayan ang marami niyang tula at nobela. Lantad sa mga ito ang makatarungang puot at pagiging tila isang kolonya ng Estados Unidos ang kanyang bansang Pilipinas. Naipakulong siya ni Elpidio Quirino dahil sa bintang na pagiging mapanghimagsik. Noong ika-31 ng Marso 1952, hinatulan siya ng habang buhay na pagkakabilanggo. Ang luha ng buhaya ay umiikot sa tunggalian ng mayamang may-ari ng lupa at ng kanyang mga inaping magsasaka sa bayan ng Sampilong ilang taon matapos ang pananakop ng mga Hapones. Nagsimula ang kwento sa pag-uwi ni Maestro Bandong Cruz sa Sampitong upang humalili sa dating punong guro na nagbabakasyon mula dahil sa karamdaman. Nagkataon naman na nagkaroon ng malaking handaan sina Don Severo at Doña Leona Grande, ang mga pinakamayayaman sa Sampilong, bilang pagsalubong sa kaniyang dalawang anak na sina June at Ninette. Ang mga kapatid ay umuwi sa Sampilong mula sa kanilang pagtatapos sa Maynila. Ang pamilya Grande ay may lubhang mapang-api sa kanilang mga magsasaka. At hindi lamang ngayon, malapit na ang piging, ngunit kahit ano paman, sila ay laging walang awang sumisingil ng mga napakataas na upa sa mga mahihirap na magsasaka. Isang halimbawa ng kanilang kalupitan ay ilang araw matapos ang handaan, namatay ang asawa ng isang magsasaka dahil hindi pinagbigyan ng mag-asawa ang hiling ng lalaki na huwag munang kunin ang kanilang pera upang mayroon silang pambili ng gamot para sa kanyang may sakit na asawa. Ito'y refleksyon ng mga magsasaka na nakaranas ng paghihirap sa panahon na kung saan ang mayaman ay namamayagpag dahil sa kanilang kapangyarihan at ang mga mahihirap ay lalong nadudusta dahil sa kanilang kalagayan na ipinaglaban ni Amado B. Hernandez bilang isang leader. He started to write his first Filipino socio-political novel that exposes the ills of the society as an evident in the agrarian problem of the 50s, which is Mga Ibong Mandaragit. The narrative illustrates Hernandez's yearning for change and the elevation of the status of the Philippine society and living conditions of the Filipinos. It was hailed as Hernandez's masterpiece, focuses on the neo-colonial dependency and the revolt in the Philippines. Amidst the dominance of neoliberalism in many parts of the world, neoliberal government continues to implement policies that impoverish the majority of the citizen, like cutting the budget for the social services, privatization of the state properties, and stagnation or reduction of workers' wage salaries. Capitalism persists as the prevailing economic system, despite the 2008 international crisis that exposed the myriad of problems associated with the prioritizing profits over the people, corporations, and the luxury of the few over the needs of many. In view of this, there is an urgent need to seek the alternatives to neoliberalism and capitalism. This is the main focus of the novel Mga Ibong Mandaragit. Nicomedes Nick Marquez Joaquin was born May 4, 1917 and died on April 29, 2004. Was a Filipino writer and a journalist best known for his short stories and novels in the English language. He also wrote using the pen name Quijano de Manila. Joaquin was conferred the rank and the title of the National Order of the Philippines for the Literature. He has been considered one of the most important Filipino writers along with Jose Rizal and Claro M. Recto. Quijano de Manila is the pen name of Nick Joaquin. He started writing before the war and his first story, his Three Generations, has been hailed as a masterpiece. He has been a recipient of almost all the prestigious awards in literature and the arts. And of course, he was also conferred among the recognitions the Republic Cultural Heritage Award for Literature in 1961, the Journalist of the Year Award in early 1960, the Book of the Year Award in 1979, for his Almanac for Millennials, the National Book Award for several of his works, the Ramon Magsaysay Award for Journalism, Literature, Creative Communication Arts, the Asian counterpart of the Nobel Prize in 1996, and the Tanglaw ng Lahi Award in 1997. The House of Zapote Street was written by Nick Joaquin. This is about the house who witnessed all the events and happening and the tragedy occur in a family in the Santa Mesa, Maragondon. There was a family in the House of Zapote Street with Mr. Cabading, who is the father of Lydia and father-in-law of Leonardo Quitangon. The story is about a man who married a woman who was living with her family on the House of Zapote Street. The couple spent their first month in the house. The man that realized with his wife was always worried. His father-in-law was a policeman. He was very strict with his house rules. The man could take it, so he left the house. One day, his wife called him to pick her up from the house. He successfully escaped his wife from her father, but they returned to the house because his father-in-law requested to see her daughter again. Unfortunately, the couple were murdered inside the house by their own father. Their father then committed suicide after killing the son-in-law and his very own daughter. Pablo Cabadig was very strict to his daughter Lydia because the father was sexually aggressive to his daughter. This statement was supported in the story that Lydia and his husband didn't have a perfect honeymoon. Lydia always slept with her mother at the night due to the many alibis of her father, Pablo. The wife of Pablo Cabadig was an underdog to his husband. We can say that based on the story, the attitude of Pablo Cabadig has something to do with his past experience because of we defined psychoanalytic by Sigmund Freud. It is the unconscious mind over the conscious mind. As we define the unconscious, it is the storage of the past experience or memory. This story implies that being overly strict and overly protective may not result to something good. Sometimes you have to let go of somebody for them to be happy, and things will fall into the right place. This story just shows that whatever you are doing through, you have your God to hold on and to be your source of strength. The Woman Who Had Two Navels, although it is considered a classic Filipino literature. The Woman Who Had Two Navels is likely not known by many people outside the Philippines. Regardless, The Woman Who Had Two Navels is a great game. Some may even argue that it is a bona fide classic. Genevieve Valentin of the NPR absolutely adored the book, saying that The Woman Who Had Two Navels in a transforming read is a fierce elegy for a past that never was. Other reviewers, include Kirkus Review, echoed Valentin's sentiment and called the book a welcome discovery. Nick Joaquin has been read as the nostalgic of Filipino Hispanic culture. While it's true that the most of Joaquin's work deal with the country's Hispanic past, his work account for more than just nostalgia. A lot of studies that make use of post-colonial theory show how this Filipino Hispanic culture, as depicted in Joaquin's work, can be construed as a form of resistance against U.S. neo-colonialism. On the other hand, the nativist nationalism on the other. Using post-colonial and narrative theories, this paper argues that Joaquin's The Woman Who Had Two Navels should also be read as a strategy for resisting the U.S. neocolonialism and a critical view of nativism, shedding light on the disjunction among history, culture, and literal consciousness. The portrait of the artist as a Filipino, known as the portrait of an artist as Filipino, an analogy in the three scene, is a literary play written in English by Joaquin. In 1950, it was described as Joaquin's most popular play and the most important Filipino play in English, and probably the best. Filipino play, apart from being regarded also as the national play of the Philippines, because of its popularity, it is also became one of the most important read scene in English classes in the Philippines. Joaquin play was described by Anita's well-plotted metaphor for the passing of old Manila history. Set in the Filipino world of pre-World War II, Intramuros and Old Manila in October 1941, the play explores the many aspects of Philippines high society by telling the story of the Marasigan sisters, Candida and Paula, and their father, the painter Don Lorenzo Marasigan. Due to an artist's drought on Don Lorenzo's part, the family has to make ends meet by relying on the financial support provided by their brother Manolo and sister Pepang, who were urging them to sell the house. Later on, they also had to take a mail boarder in the person of Tony Javier, Don Lorenzo, who refused to sell, donate, and even exhibit his portrait in public, was only content in staying inside his room. The stubbornness that already took a period of 1 year. The painting has attracted the attention and curiosity of journalists such as a family friend named Bitoy Camacho and the other obnoxious visitors pretending as an art critic. When one of the daughter Paula elopes with Tony, a journey of the personal liberation